Yeah.
You think this was mandatory or something. Welcome to the, I believe this is the 4th master class we've had this year. And of course, as you can tell, this is our biggest, and I'm very excited that we've got Ben Folds here. I want to thank some people real quick who picked up this without. Mary Beth Babcock, are you out here? She's just coming out. Yeah. Now, she was the one, raise your hand there. She runs Rolling Spaces at Tulsa, which is a very music and art-friendly space up in Tulsa. They do wonderful things up there. And she was the one that gave me this email so him and I could connect about this. And thank you, because this really happened. Gracious to even listen to you, because half the battle of getting these things to happen is to get to the artist to be able to ask them. And a lot of times the management of the record companies can be very precious with the artist, and that's fine. But fortunately for us, Alan Walmart, who's the business manager, was more than helpful and allowed him to at least listen to our request and been gracefully accepted our invitation. So I want to thank Alan. Also want to thank the Philharmonic for bringing it into town in the first place. And he's playing tomorrow night. You can still tonight get a discount for our students. Yeah, it goes through tonight. They just told me. 5 p.m. Oh. Well, sorry. You can still buy tickets though. And it's a deal at any price. So, but it's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock at the Civic Center. Yeah, it feels like I'm in a gym at old high school and people telling stories.
Stop.
Okay, one last thing. I want to thank the whole UCO community for being so supportive of everything that ACM does. And our new president, President Betts, is just I'm a huge fan of his, and so thrilled that he's there with us and so supportive of us. And most of all, I want to thank all the students for coming out to this. Thank all you guys. And I would like to welcome Mr. Ben Folds. This is a master class. What we are doing here is we're going to be talking in a conversational kind of way, right? Yes. Okay. And about Ben's career, and I'm going to lead him with my wonderful questions about his career in ways that hopefully will give you some insight in ways that can help you in your plan of attack to present yourself or your artist or whatever to the rest of the world. So, you want to sit? Yes. All right. He's tired. He just flew in, so
700 cycles is feedback.
Yeah. Are you excited?
Yeah. I love playing with symphony orchestras.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm excited. How many of you guys are coming out? You should have done. All of you should have. Next master class. Next time I ask that, everyone put their hands up. Okay.
The rest can be the choir.
Well, like I said, I just want to start kind of. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And how young were you when you first started, into being a musician, interested in arts and what were you drawn to?
I was drawn to the record player when I was 2 years old, and I sat at the record player, and I think I can still sit like that, actually.
Oh, and there we are.
It hurts a little more than it used to. like that for like 8 hours at a time. I mean, I would get up and probably, do general kid bodily functions things, but I was basically there, and it was worrying my mother, and it was worrying my grandmother. Two things resulted. One is they had me wear leg braces, and the other was I was taken to a child psychologist.
Wow. And did you embrace the ones you listened to, or was it?
No, I don't know that this man had very good musical taste. I liked Little Richard records, and I had Little Richard records and Elvis Presley records, and I broke the Elvis records apparently. I wasn't interested, and I like the Little Richard record. I don't remember thinking that. I like Elvis now. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, but he didn't think that was normal, and took some tests. They didn't. I seemed a little slow.
Was it you listening to records that didn't think it was normal, or was it breaking the records?
I think the breaking the records was probably fine. I think it was the listening to them for as long as I was listening. It's a lot of focus and attention at a time when kids are supposed to have a lot of formative stuff is supposed to be happening, and to spend all that time focused on music might be viewed as odd, But I loved it, and when I was a kid, that's all I really wanted to do. And the record player broke, and this is what precipitated the visit to the child psychologist. Is apparently I ran around the record player in circles singing the songs. Yeah, and also had "I'm a Little Teapot" and some Peter Pan thing. Yeah, that's what they were, and 78s. Yeah, because I remember I would, in fact, seeing the colors of the labels still sets off some kind of Pavlovian response. So I started drooling and sit on the floor like that.
That's an image that will always be in my mind.
Splayed on the floor like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, were you? Obviously, you love music, or at least were infatuated with music early on.
Yeah.
So it's not safe.
I loved music.
Did you take anything, classes or anything, or in school, like elementary school?
Yeah, when I was in 5th grade, that's when band started. I mean, now I think that public schools, nationwide, or the whole system is just atrophied. There's not as much music education, which I think is a damn shame, because when I was a kid, probably like you, 5th grade, you walk around the band room and you point. Maybe I would like to play that instrument or that instrument. You pick an instrument and you start working. I picked a drum, snare drum, so I got to play snare drum, and so drums was kind of my first instrument. My father, a carpenter, did like renovation work and stuff, and he was paid with an upright piano one time, which he brought. My uncle and my father rolled this upright acrosonic Baldwin piano into the hallway, and all night long I was thinking of all the songs I was going to play in the morning. It's like, I got that one, I had a little transistor radio, I'll play this song. And I was ready to go, and I got up, 6 or 7 in the morning. I was very motivated. I was pissed off. I couldn't play anything. I couldn't play any of the songs I'd listened to all night. And it seems so simple to me. That's low and that's high. And there's a predictable, intervals, and the whole thing made sense to me, but I couldn't do it yet. And so when I was a kid, I think my musical education and evolution marked by one temper tantrum after another. I was so frustrated.
I don't get mad at stuff.
But you've matured, so.
I think so, or I've repressed it now, or something not so mad.
Right.
But I know I got so mad because it was, it seemed like something you should be able to do, but actually you have to practice.
Right. And did you?
Yeah, I did, but I wasn't as disciplined all the time about what I practiced, But I'm a really, really big. I think scales, Western music
music theory, basic composition is all really, really important to drive in the kid's head, and I did have that. Like that's something that I did have access to when I was a kid. And I played in the youth orchestra from the time I was in 5th grade, and then I began to take percussion lessons, and that was my discipline in my life. And it, you know, it's almost as if in my adulthood people decided that's not cool. To, you know, like if you're too technically proficient, then suddenly that's taking the place of creativity. Totally the opposite. You know, the truth is if you have an idea and you can effortlessly have the tools to make it work, that's what creativity is.
Right, right. It gives you a wider palette to work from.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you know, you were taking the drum in 5th grade, you know, learning how to play the drums and stuff, and then the piano thing, were you taking lessons on the side, or was that something you were self-taught?
I studied piano for the first year that I played piano, and I did really well really quickly. I mean, I played, my favorite was Maple Leaf Rag, which I played really well. And in a year, that's pretty good. It's Scott Joplin. And I probably did a baby-fied version of, like, you know, Turkish March. And there's this song everyone played, but they normally got to it at like the 3rd year, but I was happy to do it first. It went, you know that? It's not that fast, but
yeah.
I played it that fast.
No, I didn't know that, but I'm going to find it now. So
you should find it. It's really
yeah.
The spinning song. That's it.
Spinning song. Right. Still don't know it, but I'll check it out. Was that by the Beatles? Yeah. Okay. I'm writing it down so you guys know. What about vocals? I mean, obviously you're a singer and you're a great singer and stuff. I mean, was that something? Did you do you know, chorus and stuff when you were going to school, or was just something?
No. You know, I think it's a southern thing, or maybe it's just my neighborhood or whatever. It was not cool to sing. I mean, it was cool to play football, and it wasn't. I mean, this is not my words, but this is the way it was viewed and said. You know, when you're kids, well, you sing, you somehow hum up. I mean, that's really what that's what was said. My father told me I had a terrible voice. He said, Benjamin, your voice is like mine. It comes out and falls. And don't try that. It's terrible. It's not terrible. And so I really kind of had all that in my head, but I still had songs in my head. So I was writing songs. But from the time I was about 10 years old, I wrote a lot of songs, and they had words, and they sound a lot like the songs I write now. But I wasn't going to sing, and especially if they were serious. I was just too ashamed to do it. And in fact, I didn't really kind of even come close to having the confidence to do that until I was about 25. And I was still waiting tables, and I would have other people sing my songs.
Right.
And I would find a good singer and we'd start a band, and I would teach them apart, but they always sounded like singers. They did this thing to it that I didn't think made any sense. I wanted to hear the notes and the words. Just plaintive, this is what the song is. And everyone wanted to sing like a singer. So I would show them how to do it. Again, and then I had tapes of myself doing this, and I thought, well, it's kind of what I wanted it to sound like. Since I discovered I made it 27, which is why the doctor who said your emotional development may be slightly off if you're 2 years old listening to records all the time.
Well, I think that, you know, what you say is very important, because a lot of, you know, I'll hear our vocal students, and they do that thing where they feel like to show that they're, and I'm not talking about any of you guys, but they do that thing where they feel like they have to just kind of show off with how great of a singer I am, instead of just being like, sometimes it's just that you know, it's the note, it's the moment that's great, not that I can do this wonderful thing, you know. And I think that's an important thing to.
It depends on why we're listening. You know, like there are some amazing jazz singers, or you know, opera sung in a language that we don't know, where the vowel is so important, and just the tone, and that's an instrument that's beautiful in itself. And my problem was that I actually had written some words I want people to hear.
Right.
And I think that's just not the kind of voice I wanted to hear. And it's funny because I say the same thing, like people too technically show off even with their voices. But then as soon as I kind of hear myself saying that, I hear a singer that does that blows me away just because they're doing it. It's amazing. So that's just the way some people sing. It's beautiful, and there's some people that can't pull that off, I guess.
Right, right. So, okay, going to school, and then, you know, I've been reading a bunch of your interviews and stuff, and you famously went to, what was it, the University of Miami's Frost School of Music. And, but you were a drummer there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, why didn't you, I mean, why aren't you a drummer now, or are you? I mean, when you're in the studio, you play drums, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And stuff,
Yeah, I mean, I play drums on the piano.
Right.
That translates to the piano. And I'm a left-handed drummer, which actually is really good luck for my piano playing in that way because as a left-handed drummer, my left foot's the downbeat, so I'm a very left-right person. And I ride with my left hand. And so with my piano, I'm riding with my left hand. I'm playing bass drum with my pinky, basically, and snare drum with my thumb, sort of. And then my right hand is Ken Belch.
You're not allowed to hear you.
What happened?
Okay, check.
There's a lot.
The light is on,
Yeah.
but the hamster's not running. Sometimes it is. Scott, yours seems to be working better than Ben.
Well, I'll give you mine. So anyway.
I'll be like Howdy Doody.
It's obviously far more important for him to be heard, so I'll switch.
How'd you know that?
Oh yeah, we could do that. It'll be like who was the guy that had the little tiny mic like that? Yeah. Now I'm kind of shy. Okay, so when you were going to college and
There's a reason why Led Zeppelin didn't have that size mic.
I'm going to leave this here while I'm speaking, but I'll make you hold it. So
That's what she said.
Yes.
I can appreciate it because that's what she said.
will you take some names?
Was this nice?
So okay. You know, I'm lost now. Let's just talk about. Were you in bands in college?
Like rock bands?
Yeah.
No, I was mostly in jazz bands in college. I was in whatever bands that I needed to be like in for ensembles and stuff. And then my sort of music that I had in my head that I was writing was my own business sort of. I didn't play that out.
Well, I mean, where did the switch come from then? When did you decide to be like, you know, because it seems like you were kind of following a path, a more traditional musical kind of path of theater or you know, symphony or something like that, and then somewhere there was a split of like, you know, I want to do this other thing. I want to be a musician playing the piano and rocking and all that. And when did that happen? I mean, traditionally, I would think usually it happens to people in college.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I started realizing that I wasn't, for me, I wasn't with the program enough to do the things that I thought I was going to do. And being in a symphony orchestra was sort of like the equivalent of, I don't know, it was something that a guidance counselor and your parents could understand what you want to do. And it's not that I wasn't passionate about it, but in the back of my head I had my own music, but it was just a matter of confidence that I didn't do it earlier. And as I didn't do well in music school, I started off doing well in music school, and then I just lost focus. One of the ways I lost focus was, he was a wrestling guy and an amateur boxer that came by my And I thought I would take up for it. And I got beaten up really badly and broke my hand and stitches in my face and stuff. And so I went to the University of Miami. So I ended up at the hospital all night long. In fact, my hand being broken, I thought maybe, I'd caught in months, but it turns out that was the wall. It's just a bad night. I didn't intend that, I wasn't ever thinking about stuff like that. I was just in my room, like working on my music theory, and then this all happened. And I broke my hand, so I was delivered to the to my jury test. You know what juries are like. It's your big music quiz at the end, or your big music performance test. And of course, I had a broken hand, and my teacher wouldn't let me out of it. He said, "You've got a gig, you got a broken hand, you've got to do it anyway." So I flunked that, and then I lost my scholarship because I was at the University of Miami on a full tuition scholarship, and we didn't have money even to go anyway. I threw my drums in the lake, totally drama king. Threw my drums in the lake. And yeah. I didn't have my other hand. Yeah, no, it was dramatic. It was the drums went to the lake, and I went back home and bagged groceries, and then I went to another music school for a little while. But something about that was just, the whole thing just felt wrong to me after that. And so to make a long story really long, I then just started thinking, I've got these songs in my head, I need to get them out. And so I would make demo tapes, which is the biggest waste of time, and send them to record companies. And they'd listen to it and they'd send me form letters. And I did that for a while, and then I realized that I just had to play my music out and drop that, because I was too worried about what some guy thought about my music. And when I just dropped the whole idea of ever making a demo, and anything that I made I either gave away or sold as a finished thing, even if it's on 4-track, that's when my music thing took off for me.
Do you want to check your mic now?
Check. Hello?
It's not working.
I know what you've got.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that. You should be working.
Okay, well, yeah. How did you hear that?
Hey?
Oh, there we go. No.
No, it's not. Check.
We'll keep going. Yeah, I like this. Yeah. Just a second. So, anyway, okay, you flunked out of the Miami school. You're packing groceries, but you're making demos. I mean, one thing, when I was reading around trying to look at what you were doing, I couldn't tell whether it seemed like you were in bands, but then you got a publishing deal. I mean, what kind of came first?
Yeah.
Were you in bands?
Oh yeah, no. I was in a band. I had a band. It was a kind of a white funk band, and I played bass, and I slapped it. And I did. And I wore it up here. And in fact, the first one that I had was a Steinberger copy that I was loaned, because I wanted to learn that I liked that. So I did that. And I had a band like that, but I was writing songs for it. The songs I was writing and wanted to hear had nothing to do with slapping the bass. So it was kind of a weird. That band broke up. However, that band had an opening gig for a guy who sounded like Prince. And the guy that sounded like Prince, he was a chemist, he's a really nice guy. And there were people coming to see him from Los Angeles and New York. It was a big deal in North Carolina for like a real record labels were coming. So we were opening up for him, but then we quit. So he still wanted me to do the opening slot, and I was going to play bass in his band. So I had these songs I've been writing, and I just picked them out on the piano because I was secondarily a piano player. And I played this thing, and I got offered publishing deals and record deals off of one gig. And I'd never played a gig on the piano by myself, never sung in public. I'd never done any of that ever once. And when all these people wanted to come out to see me play again, I didn't even have a gig. So this guy from BMI booked a showcase in a hotel, and I was terrible. I mean, I was so nervous. I really thought I was going to be sick while I was playing. I had these songs I'd written, I couldn't remember them anymore. I hired a professional bassist and a drummer, and I played an electric piano. And yeah, that was around the demo time.
Right. And then, but you said they saw you and wanted to sign you and sign you to a publishing deal and sign you to a record label. Did you do it?
Yeah, I signed a publishing deal. With a guy in Nashville, and he moved me out there, and he acted as my lawyer and my publisher, and that's how I signed my deal. That's not a good idea.
Well, you know, one of the things we do talk a lot about here at our school is the team of people you put around you, lawyers, managers, booking agents, all those kinds of things. So I mean, you kind of answered the question there with the idea of your publisher that you were signing a legal document with also being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Did that work out badly for you? I mean,
Well, all said and done, it's part of the steps that got me wherever I am now, for better or for worse. If I'm not happy because I don't have, top 10 records, then it didn't get me anywhere. If I'm happy because I get to play music and do what I want to, then it's good. It's like, but it's part of the whole thing. And I couldn't have done it without that experience. But at the moment, bad deal. Because one of the things that it had as an antiquated sort of Nashville publishing deal was that I had to write a certain number of songs a year. They called them sides. It's a weird. It's,
you got a record, right?
Yeah, that's how old they are. It's like you got to write 12 sides a year. And sometimes I write 12 sides a year, and sometimes I don't write anything. And I go years and I don't write anything at all, and then suddenly I write a whole lot of stuff. I'm not a very disciplined writer. And so when we had a hit, suddenly I'm out kissing ass all the time. There wasn't any time at all to write songs. It was just all about interviews and radio stations. I mean, it was exciting, and I enjoyed it, sort of, but I didn't have time to write. So then I got this notice that was put on something called suspension or something. Basically, they didn't pay my royalties while I had a hit song. So for about 3 or 4 years, there was not any publishing income, and it was a result of that publishing contract that I signed. And Alan, who you mentioned before, spent a lot of time and got me out of it, but getting out of it was expensive too. So kids, don't do what I've done.
But I think the important thing about that whole story in a way is that you made a choice. So many times you hear these stories, or these very talented musicians that are in wonderful bands and all these kinds of things, and they're too afraid. They're so afraid of how the music industry works that they won't make a choice. And even though you made a choice, it wasn't probably the best choice. Just like you described, it was the thing that made you start moving. So at that point, when he signed you to a publishing deal, was the idea that you were supposed to be writing songs for other people?
Well, I think the idea was that he was going to... Nashville was very centered around, you made demos and then you played showcases. Now, where I come from, that really wasn't kind of the way it was done. It was more like here. It's North Carolina, and it's more... You make records and you play shows, and you do it on a very low level, but it's... the idea of getting to the people in New York and LA was very, that's exotic stuff. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So from having a publishing deal and doing these kinds of things, you kind of skipped ahead to having a hit single. I mean, what was